Summon the Spectre.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 14 of the SpectreVerse Podcast. I am your host, JariSpectre, and this right here is none other than the SpectreVerse. Thank you all for joining me on this Wednesday, wherever you may be watching or listening from. WrestleMania 42 is officially in the books. We had night 1 on Saturday night, and we had night 2 on Sunday night. We are going to be touching upon all things WrestleMania on today's episode. We are going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the downright ugly that happened over the weekend. CM Punk. CM Punk is in the news for all the right reasons, as he got into it with a fan over WrestleMania weekend when the fan just did not know when to say no. We're going to be touching upon that news story as well as my thoughts and opinions on this because, quite frankly, it doesn't just happen to the celebrities above. It happens to all workers involved, including on the indies. We're going to touch upon the Raw after WrestleMania that happened on Monday. We're going to be touching upon the call-ups, some of the storylines going into what seems to be Backlash now, and as well as what to expect for the rest of the year as far as WWE goes. We'll touch upon creative control. TKO President Mark Shapiro touched upon some of the inner workings that happens at TKO and WWE while visiting the University of Alabama and talking to some of the college students there. So we're going to touch upon that news story as well. And then as far as AEW goes, we are going to talk about the real main talking point from Wednesday's show, and that was Darby Allin beating MJF very, very quickly in a squash match to win the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Night 1, WrestleMania. If you guys missed out on the episode that I went live for, as soon as night 1 was done, I went live right here on YouTube, and I talked about my initial quick thoughts and opinions on that show. If you guys want to check it out, it'll be right up here for you. But needless to say, night 1 was mid. It was absolutely mid. There is no other way you can sugarcoat it. As a matter of fact, it was probably the worst night 1 ever since WWE switched to the 2-night format. It was so horrid that all the bad truly outweighed all the good on night 1. Because I'll be completely honest, from a in-ring and wrestler standpoint, and I want to keep that very, very clear, from an in-ring and wrestling standpoint, the show wasn't bad. I think the term atrocious was thrown out by numerous of people. That I can understand based off of the creative decisions. But as far as what we got in ring, the only way I can personally deem it atrocious if all the matches were just god-awful. There were botches galore. There was sloppiness from start to finish. But that's not what we got on night 1 from an in-ring standpoint. We got that from a creative standpoint and from a commercial standpoint. We did not get that from an in-ring standpoint. The only problem that we got from an in-ring standpoint was the matches were too damn short. They were too short because the majority of the show was taken up by entrances and commercial breaks from ESPN, which makes me beg the question, why is that? But luckily for us, we kind of have an answer now. There was a report that was going around stating that ESPN feels like they overpaid for WWE, and now they will be using commercials to earn back the revenue that they lost. Which, from a matter of fact, is actually going to hurt them long term, and it's going to hurt WWE long term, because this is what's going to be the new normal now. These 10-minute long commercials, taking away from the in-ring that makes WWE special, the storytelling, the glitz, the glamour, not just WrestleMania, but every pay-per-view, and including weekly television, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown. The issue has now been there are too many fucking commercials. That is what hurt night one. Granted, were all the stories worth WrestleMania for night one? No. No, they were not. I personally thought they could have done the women's 4-way tag match on SmackDown, but because Paige returned, that's what made it WrestleMania worthy. Which I get. It's a big return. You want to do it on the biggest show of the year. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, it was supposed to just be the Bella Twins. If Nikki never got hurt, Lord knows when we would have saw Paige return. It probably would have been Monday, the Raw after WrestleMania. So, from the word atrocious being thrown out, I think we should kind of pump the brakes from an in-ring standpoint. The matches themselves weren't bad, they were short. And in return, that made them bad. Because let's not put any blame on the wrestlers themselves. They went out there and did what they had to do. But from a TKO and a ESPN aspect, this should have never happened. Ever. It is actually disgusting, and it's horrible that a lot of these matches were cut short so that they could get their time in with commercials. But that doesn't mean that every match was bad on night one. We had some really solid matches. We had Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. That match was solid. Went 14 minutes. Granted, my one critique that I had during the live stream was it didn't feel like an unsanctioned match. It felt like a no disqualification. That was my one major critique. It felt underwhelming from an unsanctioned standpoint. If it was just a regular no holds barred, extreme rules, whatever you want to call it, no disqualification, then it would have been great. But from an unsanctioned standpoint, it underdelivered. And that's nobody's fault other than, hey, if you're going to bill it as unsanctioned match, you better fucking deliver with an unsanctioned match. Another really good match we had was Seth Rollins and Gunther. Both men went out there and they tore it up, which thank God that they did. Seth Rollins and Gunther was match of the night for night one. And my personal opinion, which is a hot take, was Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton was the second best match of the night. And I'll get to why I believe that. But Seth Rollins and Gunther, they went out and they told the best story that they could possibly tell with only 2 weeks build, because both original competitors were supposed to wrestle people that were injured, and there was no time frame on when we could get a full, clear return from either of them. So let's give them a little more grace, and that's just my personal opinion. Give them some grace, because they made the best out of the shittiest situation. They turned chicken shit into chicken salad for night one. And then Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. What should have been the best overall story going into WrestleMania 42 for both nights, might I add. It was overtaken and overproduced by celebrity garbage. Pat McAfee getting involved in the main event. This is weeks, I would say a good 3 weeks before WrestleMania. Him getting involved in this main event to hopefully try to draw more tickets ended up hurting the match that much more. And we knew as fans that was going to happen. Hell, as a worker, I knew that was going to happen. And it sucks that we have the higher-ups of these billion-dollar companies thinking they know how to run and tell the best stories as far as an in-ring standpoint. Meanwhile, You have Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, two of the best true professional wrestlers on this planet, and you're not willing to trust them to go out there and tell the story that they need to tell. So instead, you need to get your celebrities in, like Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee. Now, granted, no knock to them on what they do outside of WWE. Pat McAfee is great with his show. He is great with ESPN. He is great with college football. Jelly Roll, I think he's a fantastic singer. I think he makes great music. But just because you love WWE doesn't necessarily mean you always need to be involved. Now, granted, from what the reports were saying when this first originally happened, was they were not too 100% sure, like, oh, yes, I'll do it. I remember when, before it even happened on television, Pat McAfee said he was very hesitant. He was very, very hesitant on wanting to do the storyline. But they ended up doing what they had to do. The higher-ups made the call, and they said, nope, you do it. And he did it. He did his job. And by God, we let them know how shit it ended up being. The match itself between Cody and Randy, once Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee were taken out of the equation, from an in-ring standpoint, it was fine. It was slow. It was methodical. It tried to tell the best story that it could possibly tell. But when the story gets infected with such a stupid, egregious cancer with Pat McAfee and the celebrity garbage, it ends up hurting more than helping, even if you do everything you can to try and clean up the mess. It's like when you accidentally spill bleach on a carpet. Like, yeah, you can scrub and you can try to clean it up as much as humanly possible, but that stain is going to be there forever. And it's always just going to have that black hole around it. And now the initial plan for Backlash, according to reports, was it's going to be Pat McAfee and Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes and Jelly Roll. But after what we got on Monday, Pat McAfee said he is no longer going to do anything wrestling related. That time is past, it's done. So what does this mean for Backlash? If they're smart, I guarantee they're going to have Randy Orton's and Cody Rhodes have the rematch, and it's going to be that much better than what it was at WrestleMania, which then is just going to piss us off as fans, because why didn't we get that at WrestleMania? Why are we waiting till Backlash to get a WrestleMania caliber main event? Those were really the only three solid matches. Granted, everybody that was on night one, they did a good job as far as in-ring standpoint. It was the stories were not fulfilling, and the timing of each match was under-delivered. I think Seth Rollins and Gunther should have went 20. I think Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes could have went 20. They ended up going a little bit over. You take out the Pat McAfee garbage, I guarantee that match, people would be talking about it a whole lot more different than the fact that he was in it. And Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu, like I said before, their match was fine, but it shouldn't have been an unsanctioned match. It should have just been a no disqualification if that was the case. Otherwise, they should have been given even more time to really go balls to the wall. And as far as everyone else that was on night one, they should have gotten more time too. Outside of the three matches I mentioned, every other match was less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. I think it was 7, 9, 9, 7. That's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic by WWE and by TKO and by ESPN. That is not how we treat the biggest show of the year. And I hope they learn their lesson and they change it going forward. Meanwhile, night 2 was a completely different story. It's like night 1 and night 2 were the yin and the yang. Night 2 delivered on just about every aspect, which made me beg the question when I went live after Sunday night, which you guys can check out right here. It begs the question as to why that is. Why did night 1 feel so underwhelming, but yet night 2 over-delivered? That seems to be a very reoccurring theme ever since they switched the 2-night format, which it shouldn't be that way. Roman Reigns and CM Punk killed it in the main event of night 2. If you guys have not seen that match yet, I highly recommend you go out and check it out, which I'm assuming the majority of you were watching WrestleMania, and you guys know how good that match was. And Roman Reigns is our new World Heavyweight Champion. We're going to touch upon what that looks like for the rest of the year once we get to the Raw after WrestleMania. But man, oh man, night 2 just blew night 1 out of the water. Obafemi is the next big thing. And like he said on Monday Night Raw on Monday, the ruler has arrived. Obafemi is going to be the guy for WWE for the next 15, 20 years. And on top of that, Brock Lesnar made him look so magnificent from the start of the build all the way till the match. And even in that match, he put him over big time. Big time. And that deserves all the credit and congratulations to Brock Lesnar. Regardless of how you feel about him, Brock Lesnar is a true class act as far as the in-ring goes. He knows what works, what doesn't work. And he's a cowboy at heart. He's going to speak his truth no matter what. But after the match was the biggest talking point, if not the second biggest talking point from night 2 of WrestleMania 42. After Brock and Oba was done, which I thought it went the perfect length. I know some people were like, I could have wished it went at least 2 to 3 minutes longer. I can understand it. But when you look at an Obafemi Brock Lesnar match, they went in, they told the story they needed to tell, and then they were done. You could have put on another 5 minutes if you really wanted to, but did it really need to be 5 minutes? I don't necessarily think so. I thought the crowd was there from all of it, from start to finish. And they delivered to open WrestleMania Night 2. But after the match, Brock Lesnar is sitting in the ring, and he finally gets a standing ovation from the crowd as he sits there. And he slowly takes off his MMA gloves, and then he starts unlacing his boots, and he pushes them together into the middle of the ring, and he pops up, and he waves to everybody that he is saying goodbye. And then Paul Heyman walks into the ring, and you can just tell Brock Lesnar full of tears in his eyes, Paul Heyman crying as well. And they both embrace in the middle of the ring with the biggest hug. You can just tell that was as real and as genuine as you can possibly get. And after what we got on Monday, it is official. Brock Lesnar is retired from WWE. Like I said on the live stream, we will never, ever see another Brock Lesnar ever again. That man was truly one of a kind. NCAA heavyweight champion. Multi-WWE champion. UFC heavyweight champion. No matter what the man did, he dominated. Absolutely dominated. And for a guy with that much strength, the one thing he was always very underrated with was how fast he was. That man, Brock Lesnar, was, and will forever be a freak of nature in the nicest way possible. And that's how Night 2 started. We're going to get back to Roman and CM Punk here in just a second. The 6-man ladder match delivered perfectly. I thought this was probably the sleeper match of WrestleMania. And by God, all 6 competitors, Penta, Javon, JD, Rey Mysterio, Rusev, and Dragon Lee, went balls to the wall. Each man showed up, showed out, and each man looked great, whether taking a spot or getting their shit in. It was fantastic. And I personally thought we got the right winner too, with Penta retaining the Intercontinental Championship. Not only does this solidify Penta as he's going to be hanging on to this for a little bit longer, but now you got a whole slew of true competitors that can really try to help build up that mid-card division. And like we saw on Monday, one of those guys has his eyes completely and fully set on the Intercontinental Championship. And then back to CM Punk and Roman Reigns. There was something I saw online that really, it took me a second to really understand, just because I had to reread it 3 times before really truly putting it into perspective. And that was Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, from what we got on Sunday night, was the best WrestleMania main event since Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker from 25 or 26. And that really kind of put it into perspective as to how great Roman and Punk are. And you can look back at all the previous WrestleManias in between then, and honestly, nothing beats that match. I guess as a recency bias that you could maybe throw into that conversation was the triple threat from last year between Seth, Roman, and Punk. But even then, I feel like that match wasn't as good as this one. This match truly was the best WrestleMania main event we've had since Taker and Shawn. That shows you how good that match was. And Taker and Shawn is known as one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. All time. All 42 years of WrestleMania. That is what sticks out. And now this is going to be the true conversation piece, because now WrestleMania main events have that much of a bar to live up to. It's like comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James. People have done it, and people stand on it. But at the end of the day, you're comparing greatness with greatness. Even though Jordan is better. LeBron is going to be my guy, but Jordan's better. But that, like I said, shows you how great that main event match was. And that was really about it for WrestleMania. Granted, the other matches did feel short, but we were at least more invested into what night 2 offered us versus night 1. There were a couple matches where I wish that it would have went longer. Yes. But going off of what we got from night 1 with the commercials, I was at least a little more prepared for them while watching night 2 versus night 1. And I think a lot of people, that's why they put night 1 where they did, is because we were hoping that, at least 90% of the matches will be at least 10 minutes plus. Nope. That's not what we got. But instead what we got, if I'm being completely honest with each and every single one of you, it felt like WWE told all those matches, go out there and have a Saturday night's main event match. Just going to be completely honest with you, that's what it felt like. Truly, that is what it felt like. And with all that being said, just to kind of touch upon this, because I knew it was a major talking point, TKO over WrestleMania weekend also confirmed that they were the ones that made the celebrity decisions. TKO President Mark Shapiro went to the University of Alabama to speak to some of the college kids in one of the classes And one of the kids, during what seemed to be a Q&A portion after visiting with the class, asked, who are the ones that are in creative control at WWE? And I have the quote here in front of me. Mark Shapiro, president of TKO, says, first of all, TKO has complete control. So we're responsible, good and bad, fact or fiction. Having Hollywood tie-ins and celebs and stars in Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, Mark Wahlberg show up and does his thing. Tyrese Halliburton last year got into a fight in the ring with Jalen Brunson of the Knicks. That's not new. It's just on a larger stage. Time out. So yes, they admit that they were the ones that made that decision. And it was a bad decision. And I'm hoping they're smart enough to realize that now. And he said, celebrities interacting on WWE television is nothing new. Yes, that is correct. It is nothing new. It is just on a larger stage. But the problem is not the celebrities that are getting the spotlight. The problem is when the celebrities insert themselves into positions and spots and matches that they don't belong in. That was the issue. He continues on by saying, and we're spending a lot of money to market the brand and market the content. And when you do that, you're going to win some folks over, but you're also going to chase some folks away. They don't like this or they don't like that. This is too expensive, or, oh my God, to watch the WWE, I got to buy Netflix, which costs this much. I got to watch SmackDown on USA. I got to do that. I got to have the CW so I can have cable. And now I have to pay for ESPN. And you can make some enemies really quickly. Time out again. Yes, that is business 101. It's nothing new. The NFL does it. The NBA does it. All of the big sporting events do that. That's how they make money. So I get it. This is the way of saying this is just how we make money. But once again, granted, you can make your money. But if you let the wrestlers and the creative tell the story of a true professional wrestling show with true, genuine pro wrestlers and wrestling characters that the fans appreciate and want to see played out and done properly, then you're going to make so much more money. Not by relying on celebrities and garbage that nobody necessarily cares about. Pat McAfee, because this is the prime example of what all of this was. It's not that the people have a problem with Pat McAfee. They had a problem with how he was being used in Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton because it didn't make sense. It never did make sense. It never will make sense. That was the problem. It wasn't, oh, it was Jelly Roll's problem, or, oh, it was Pat McAfee. No, it was how you used them was the problem. If you use celebrities the correct way, then that's how you get your eyes, and that's how you get your money. But when you insert them in places that they don't belong, that's what causes the outrage. And I think TKO is eventually going to run into a problem where they're going to be really starting to push the diehards away and expecting the casuals to come on in. But the problem is with how expensive WWE wants to make each event feel, the casuals won't be able to want to spend that kind of money to become diehards. That's just the reality that we live in. So I hope if for whatever reason this reaches TKO or reaches the WWE, I highly doubt it. But if that does become the case, think before you act. Just because you see dollar signs doesn't mean that's always is what we're going to get. Just because you see dollar signs isn't necessarily what's going to happen. Let the celebrities be involved in a different fashion and save the wrestling and the storytelling to the pros. There is a hierarchy in WWE, and I know a lot of people online were saying, hey, we need to apologize to Triple H for how we were talking so down on him. If the true creative control comes from the top, Mark Shapiro, Ari Emanuel, all of them, Triple H is just a very important employee that has a lot of different tasks. It's like that with any other business. Triple H is in charge of being the ones to set up the stories, to try and make them make sense. But when the top tells him, hey, this is what we want, now you got to go do it and make it make sense. Even if what they're saying doesn't make sense, how only one man can try and make that make sense. But either way, if that's what the people with the money want, then that's what they're going to get, goddammit, because that's just how business works. But at the same time, that's how business fails. So the fact that a lot of people were pointing the blame at Triple H, granted, did he deserve some? Did he deserve some? Yes. He did deserve some of the blame. But I'm not going to put all of that on Triple H. We know who to blame for that. And I'm hoping that they learned their lesson. One of the other major talking points from this past weekend was CM Punk, AJ Lee, and Bayley. There was an issue that happened at the hotel that CM Punk got involved and got into it with a fan as Bayley and AJ Lee were having a very genuine moment and hugging each other and just having just a nice moment, and fans immediately swarmed them with phones. Now, there was one particular fan that swarmed him with a phone, and Bayley said, hey, go away, please. Did the fan listen? No. And that's when CM Punk got into it with the fan, and he took his phone and he threw it on the ground and said, hey, did you not hear him? Like, get out of their face. And that was a real big talking point over the weekend, because not only did it happen to them, but it happened to numerous wrestlers as well. Which begs the question, does the WWE superstars need security? In a sense, some of them probably could use some security. When you got that many fans, especially on the biggest weekend of the year, swarming you, it's not going to make you feel like you have a chance to breathe. So if you have some security there, at least it gives a little leeway. But at the same time, this is WWE. This is something that, it comes with the job description. You're a WWE superstar. When the fans see you, they want to see you. Now, who is right in this situation? The answer is one person and one person only, and that was CM Punk. Normally, in a situation like this, they would try to paint Punk as the bad guy, but Punk did the right thing. When a superstar says no, and you continue to do the same shit you were doing, bad things happen. And fans, not just WWE fans, but fans all over the independents and anybody in that situation, they need to know when enough is enough. And I only say that because it's happened to me. Crazy enough, it's happened to me. I've had to block people, fans, people that truly adore the Jaden Mercer character, because it got too creepy, it got too annoying, and it just became too much. There's a difference between being a fan and being a fucking psycho. And when fans can't blur that line of, hey, I'm being really weird, that's when shit hits the fan. That's when shit becomes the problem. And it's crazy that the fan actually went out and said, I don't want to press charges against CM Punk. I don't want to take him to court. I don't want to sue him. I just want an apology. An apology for what? For you being a dumbass and not listening and being respectful to the wrestlers that said, hey, don't do this right now? Like, that person can go fuck themselves. And the person that's done it to me, they can go fuck themselves too. I appreciate the fans, the ones that listen, and the ones that are respectful. But if you try to paint a wrestler in a bad light because you refuse to listen and to be respectful to them, then you're the fucking problem. You're the cancer. Fuck you. That's my thoughts on that. And that is what is going to lead us into what we saw on Monday with the Raw after WrestleMania. But Monday Night Raw started with Obafemi, rightfully so. And he came out there and he said the ruler has arrived. It was short, sweet, and to the point. You know WWE, for a fucking fact, is going to use Obafemi as that new main event guy. There's no sugarcoating it. He's so over right now, and he's believable. One of the other really big talking points from Monday Night Raw was CM Punk. CM Punk came out and said he could easily just go home and cry about not winning. He talked about how it seems like over the past 6 months, he's lost so much. He's lost friends. He lost Larry. And now he lost his championship at WrestleMania. But he said that he is going to stay ready because you never know when a championship opportunity is going to fall from the sky. Which is true. That's why a lot of wrestlers are afraid of, if they know they're hurt, to take time off. You always want to stay ready, and you don't want to lose your spot. That's exactly what CM Punk said in that first half of the promo. If you take time off, there is a potential of people forgetting about you, not caring about you, and simply just losing your spot. But if you stay ready, you are never, ever going to lose the spot you're currently in. But who ended up interrupting CM Punk on Monday Night Raw? It was none other than the WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes. Cody came out. He had black eye from when he got punted by Randy Orton after the match. And he says he feels more like a loser than CM Punk probably does. Punk then laughs and says that heavy is the head that truly wears the crown. He won a very, very hard match on Saturday, not only because he went against a first ballot Hall of Famer, but because you went against your friend. It's a lot harder to go against somebody you love versus somebody who hates your guts, which is true. Because, anybody, you throw any of your friends into a situation where, okay, you have to fight them or you have to fight someone that you truly hate. It's easier to fight the person you hate than the person you love. He then takes a look at the WWE Championship and says, I'm always just going to stay ready because you never know when a championship match is going to fall from the sky. Falling back and circling back to what he said before Cody even came out. And then Punk puts the mic down and he's starting to walk away. And as he's walking away, Cody says, hey, Punk, just say when. That one sentence sold the match. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. The question is, when are we going to get it? If I had to be a betting man and a fantasy booker in some way, shape, or form, there's no other place to do that match other than WrestleMania. But, and here's a big but, WrestleMania is going to be in Saudi. WrestleMania 43 next year is going to be in Saudi. Does WWE give us the match early and they do it at SummerSlam? There is a possibility of that truly happening. I do think they need some stellar matches for SummerSlam this year. Obviously, you want to put your marquee matches in the main event. That is one of WWE's, they're running low on having true marquee matches. That one is one of them. And I know they want to save it, but you're kind of running out of time. I think you got to pull the trigger. So do they do that at SummerSlam? I could see it. And honestly, if I were booking it, I probably would do it for SummerSlam. But now the question is, how do we get there? Does CM Punk start to target Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton in this debacle? Obviously, we're going to find out a little bit more on SmackDown on Friday. But how do we get there? I know some people online already fantasy booking saying that, oh, CM Punk should win Money in the Bank. You could, but I don't think Punk needs Money in the Bank. I think they should give it to someone who truly deserves Money in the Bank. I don't quite necessarily know who that person would be, but if I had to be, once again, a booker, why not give it to Gunther? Or hell, give it to Oba. There's a possibility, but if that match already sells itself, do we need some sort of like way to get there by using the briefcase, or can CM Punk just call out Cody Rhodes and be like, yes, you and me, let's do it? Granted, Cody gave him his word, so that makes it that much easier. And I feel like a lot more people now are going to be vying for a title shot with Roman, which we'll get to here in a second. But CM Punk and Cody Rhodes pretty much essentially teasing now that a WWE title match between the two of them is bound to happen. Either WrestleMania or SummerSlam. If I had to be a betting man, I would say SummerSlam. But like always with this company, you never know. You never know. There was a few other talking points from the Raw after WrestleMania. We got a few very nice call-ups. Ethan Page was one that got called up, and it seems like he's already got his eye on the Intercontinental Championship. Fun fact about Ethan Page. When I was still wrestling, which I still technically am, just injured at the moment, but when I was wrestling, I want to say it was 2023, so almost 3 years ago, I was on the same show as Ethan Page. And after the show, we went out and we were playing cornhole. It was the Commissioner and Ethan Page versus me and one of my best friends that you guys probably know as Apris. And we almost beat him. We were like this close. I think it ended up being 21-19 because Apris couldn't make his shots. But Ethan Page, he clutched up. So shout out to Ethan. Very, very happy for him. He deserves it. He deserves the world. He is one hell of a class act, and he's really good at wrestling. So I'm glad that he finally gets called up to Monday Night Raw. For the female side, we also got Sol Ruka. She had a match with Liv Morgan on the Raw after WrestleMania, and honestly, that match felt more like a WrestleMania match than the match that Liv had with Stephanie, due to the lack of time. Crazy concept, I know. Fucking so stupid. So stupid. And then the next call up, kind of unofficial, but let's be real here. They wouldn't announce it without it being like a fact of life. Joe Hendry is getting called up from NXT, and he is going to Monday Night Raw as well, because next week on Raw, he has a live concert. First time ever. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Joe Hendry. If I'm being completely honest, I really don't know where they're going to insert him other than trying to build up the Intercontinental mid-card division to start. But that's really about it. I don't really know what else their plan is with Joe Hendry. I don't know if they even want to consider moving him to the main event quite yet. I don't think he's ready for that. But that's just my personal opinion. Couple other talking points. The Street Profits made their return to help Seth Rollins take care of the Vision. So it seems like going from the Usos versus the Vision, now we're going to have the Street Profits versus the Vision. I feel like the Street Profits versus the Vision is going to be a lot better than the Usos versus the Vision. But it's almost still like the same cycle over and over. And I'm hoping they can do something different to break that cycle. Braun Breaker is going to have his hands full with Seth Rollins after he got blasted with a chair. And then Seth Rollins ended up eating 2 big spears immediately after that. Also, Braun Breaker got cracked on the head with that steel chair. He was gushing blood from the back of his head. Fuck that. The only reason I say fuck that is because I've had that same shit happen to me. Ended up getting 7 staples in my head. That shit hurts. And then Finn Balor, the question was with him and Dominic Mysterio and the street fight they had at WrestleMania Night 2. The question was, are they going to continue the storyline with him versus the Judgment Day? That question got answered. Yes, he will. Not only does he want to take care of Dominic, he wants to take care of everyone in the Judgment Day. So clearly that storyline isn't going anywhere anytime soon. The other major talking point was Gunther has his eyes on the world title, presumably with the favor from Paul Heyman that he got on the build towards him and Rollins at WrestleMania. But he's got to run through LA Knight first to get there. Sad day for LA Knight fans. No matter how bad we want to see this guy push, he is never going to break that glass ceiling, as at least presumably as of right now. Unless he just goes on a fucking tear. I don't know. I think WWE is kind of just over the LA Knight experiment, but they know how much he sells and how over he is still. So hopefully he can break that cycle and truly reach superstardom, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And then the final talking point from the Raw after WrestleMania was Roman Reigns. He came out to close the show, and on the way out, he ran into the Usos, and he said, "Hey, come with me." So they all go out together, just like old bloodline times. And Roman says he wants to get the family back together because right now they're separated, but when they come together as one, they're unstoppable. But the key thing he said, this time he won't be the one that serves them. Now, I don't know about you guys, but me personally, that's a crock of shit. Let's be real. As far as what they've told on television, Roman is still the same guy that he's always been. Nothing about him has changed. And if you guys remember from a few years ago, when Roman first came back as this new babyface OTC, he never apologized to Jimmy and Jay for how he acted during his first initial run as the tribal chief. He never apologized once for anything that he said or did. I'm hoping and I'm praying that we get some sort of more storytelling with that. On top of that, I know a lot of people were saying we don't want to see the bloodline again. And rightfully so. But now I see a lot of people are starting to go back on that word now that we're actually kind of getting that same format again. Now people are like, oh, this is going to be great. Roman and the bloodline, they're going to elevate everything. In a sense, yes, they are. But why are you changing your narrative now versus before? Unless we're going to get part 2 of this bloodline story, then why are we necessarily getting it? Unless Roman is truly not going to serve Jimmy and Jay, which, let's be real, I highly doubt it. I think he's going to still be the same guy, and it's going to take Jimmy and Jay to be like, no, I need you to apologize to both of us in order for this to work. That's the main thing I'm hoping for. But who will be the first competitor to challenge Roman Reigns? It will be none other than Roman's little cousin, Jacob Fatu. Jacob was the one that interrupted Roman and the Usos. And he came out and he said, Well, Roman was just like, I'm kind of surprised to see you out here. And he said, you're either out here for two things. One, you're going to acknowledge me, or two, you want what I have. And Jacob hesitated, but he said, I don't want what you have. I need what you have. And the reason he needs it is because he wants the cars, the house, the money, the fame. He wants to better his family by being the world champion, which is a very honorable and reasonable explanation as to why. WWE has failed so many times to give us the why when it comes to stories. He immediately came out and gave his why. And Roman then responded by saying, I'm going to let you sit on this for a week. And when I come back next week, I want you to truly have an answer as to what you're doing. And so they left with a little cliffhanger. And the one line that Roman said before Raw went off the air was, he told Jay, talk some sense into him. But now this is where it gets kind of fun. Remember when Jay originally got injured? This was, I want to say, January, February. You remember when Jay got carted off in an ambulance? We never got the reveal as to who that was that attacked Jey Uso. And then on top of that, we never got the explanation or the person that attacked Jacob Fatu while he was out with injury. What if they both attacked each other? Or what if one person attacked him first and then the second attack was the rebuttal, the revenge? There could be a bigger story at hand. But the question is that necessarily the case? Do I put it past WWE to completely forget about that? Yeah, I very much do. But it definitely leaves us with some talking points, and it gives the fans something to kind of really sink their teeth into going into next week, which is good. We haven't had enough of, hey, give us some sort of little cliffhanger to make us ready to watch next week. And if they can continue to do that consistently and properly, then that's where you start to really build up the hype. That's where you get fans willing to spend the money. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see what SmackDown looks like. The last thing we're going to touch upon on today's episode was what happened last week on AEW Dynamite. And that was Darby Allin winning the world title from MJF, squashing MJF in what felt like a 4-minute match. Not even. Before we even jump into it, I will say I am happy and I'm proud of Darby Allin. That man has put his body through absolute hell from the moment he debuted till now. That man has put his body through hell, and he has busted his ass, and he grinded to get to where he is now. That does not deserve to get knocked. And I think some fans are smart enough to be like, we love Darby, we appreciate him, and everything he's done. But the problem with him winning the world title was this wasn't his time. This was not Darby Allin's time, regardless of who wants to tell us that. It really just wasn't his time. This match and the timing of this match was done so poorly. As far as creative, I am genuinely confused as to why they chose this. My only thought after it happened was, is MJF going to film a movie? Is that why they're doing this? And if that's not the case, then why in the fuck did you take the title off of MJF? Ever since MJF won the title back, ratings were up, talk was up, interest was up. He just had a banger match with Hangman Adam Page. He had a banger match with Kenny Omega. And what seemed that we were going to get was a banger match between Ospreay at All In London. But now that Darby Allin is the new champion, what does all of this mean? And like I said, if he's just taking some time off, or if he's injured, then I get it. I understand it. You got to take the title off him in some way, shape, or form. But if not, then they completely missed the ball. Because MJF was on fire. Fire. And now what does this mean going into what seems to be in the next couple months your biggest shows of the year? And as far as the creative decision, if this leads to a rematch where he goes against MJF one more time and MJF wins it back, then what the fuck was this for? To pop a rating for WrestleMania weekend? There's no way. There's got to be no way. But if they actually are going to ride with Darby Allin as the world champion, then this has got to be one of the next biggest fumbles that AEW has possibly had. Because MJF was on fire, and you pretty much threw all of that away by having Darby Allin squash him. So I guess we're going to wait to see tonight what this means as far as the AEW world title goes. But after seeing that last week, I was just absolutely disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. But that's going to do it for today's episode of the SpectreVerse Podcast. I want to thank you guys for tuning in once again. We've had a hell of a weekend with WrestleMania 42. We did the channel's best numbers with WrestleMania. Got a brand new subscriber. Views up the ass. Impressions were good. CTR was good. And that's because of you guys. And I want to thank you guys if you tuned in for WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 post-show right here on the SpectreVerse. None of this would be possible without you. Now, granted, I'm still a full-time wrestler who's just out with an injury. When I get back into the ring, I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure nothing changes as far as this goes. I don't want that to hinder this. I don't want this to hinder that. But genuinely, with only being 3 months into this game, I've learned a lot just off of the 3 months. And I'm ready to keep working harder and to get better and to become the best content creator out here. And if not the best, I want to be one of the best. I want to be in that conversation. I look up to guys like JD from NY, guys like Solomonster, guys like Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca. I look up to them. I look up to Ross in the Clutch. Same with Dub. Like, those are the guys that I want to be associated with. Those guys seem real and genuine. And if I can do anything to get myself to that level, then damn it, I'm going to do it. But that's going to do it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and please follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at JariSpectre. You guys can also follow the SpectreVerse page on Facebook as well. That will be at the SpectreVerse. Anytime I go live every Wednesday with a podcast, it goes there first. Anytime I go and I play video games and I do a live stream, it goes there first. So you guys, if you're interested in that, that is going to be the place to find as soon as I'm up. That's where I'll be. And if you guys want to do me a favor, there is plenty of content already on the channel that you guys can go check out. And I highly recommend you go ahead and do that. Whether it's a live stream or an episode or anything regarding the content that I put up here. And I hope you guys stick around. I very, very much appreciate it. But until next week for episode 15, we will see you all next time. Peace out.